saw with Adams is you're locked into a reimbursement that's pre-selected. Account type pay from is there, and then you can choose a different amount, I think. Oh, well, that's weird. It's making us choose. I thought it would default to that. Okay. Yeah. Add a receipt if you need, or edit. Back to step one.
Yeah, that's weird that we're hopping over that second page. I think it's just because we're in HSA accounts that's doing that.
Yeah.
I know the second page is used for something for reimbursement, but we'll figure that out.
And I'll make a note of this, but one thing, if we have multiple CAMS accounts for a user and HSA, if they select more than one, we shouldn't even include HSA as an option in that case, but lots of things to think about with these rules here, but I think we wanted today just to, reintroduce this to Dave and get some ideas of how this UI looks.
Right. Well, in these pages, I mean, we still have to, and that's kind of what I was calling out in the videos, we have to reuse them to some extent. What account what account do you want to reimburse from? We need to know that for the bulk reimbursement. We need to know, well, we're hoping that it's just going to end up being the full amount's going to be reimbursed, so we're hopefully just showing them that. But there's a possibility that we may need to do partial amounts, so we'll figure that out. But then, the reimbursement method, we need to know that as well. So it's like we need this information. I don't know if it needs to be another page or not, but we need to present this after they've selected the bulk, the bulk expenses. We need to also know these options. So, yeah, don't know if that means it's a separate page. Don't know if we're building different versions of this specific page and the confirmation page as well, with how we would show confirmations. So it's something we can let you spin on, Dave, and see what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah, and let us know if you need any stage users or other assets or anything. As far as timing for everything and essays, we'd like your thoughts here too. Kathy was asking, what the timeline could be to bring this to Q&A. So Adam and I can write up the features that we need, which obviously is too early right this second, but we can keep having these sessions, and I guesstimated to Kathy minimum 2 more weeks, maybe 3. More realistic.
That sounds reasonable. Let's try to make it, and if we don't,
Yeah. For a Q1 deliverable, so I'd like to probably kick this off this month.
ASAP?
Yeah, ASAP.
Right.
Like last week.
Yeah. Well, we started last week.
Yeah.
So let's keep it going. But then, and then deliverable in Q1, so March 30th. That's how that usually works. So that's kind of an idea of the timeline. So we won't be canceling as many of these sessions as we typically do. So
Yeah, it's a little tricky too because we're working too. I know. For Dave, your concentration is really just on this bulk reimbursement, but we also have that, 2A claims that we need to focus on as well. That one seemed like it would be a little bit easier, but yeah, Tim and Jocelyn, Rob, kind of clueless. I know it's back end work. I know we may be looking at new APIs. I know we had some questions out of whether or not we could leverage RallyPay. But yeah, I mean, whatever we need to do with whoever we need to pull in to have more conversations or discussions, we just need to make sure we get on top of it and figure it out. Is there, so for Tim and Jocelyn, is there anything, because Tim, I know you've been looking into the bulk reimbursement. Do you still have open questions back to Wes or anything that you're digging into?
No, I think we need to figure out on our end as far as what are eligible, like for, let's say they want to do a bulk request, what would be do I tell you guys as far as here's how I would recommend as far as expenses that would be eligible for a bulk? Or is it, from a business standpoint, are they just gonna say, hey, they wanna select any expense and they just wanna hit the submit button, you know, with, obviously they'll enter some high level information, but they hit the submit button, and then from our standpoint, we can do the bulk fire off of the creating those claims. I guess I just need to understand, because I know, Adam, you did review some required pieces of information. I just, if I can understand what that flow looks like better, then I think we can start making progress towards working on what we need to do to get this done. And again, I think in my mind, it's like a background process that it's kind of a fire and forget, but in the background, we're gonna be submitting these and getting a response back, and then updating Engage Core as appropriate.
Right. Yep, and I think we were intending on keeping a lot of what already exists today. The difference is a lot more of the difference is just the fact that users are kind of bulking them together and submitting them from a user perspective. They're submitting them all at once, you know. But we'll leverage a lot of the same rules we already have in place today. So if it's FSA and HRA, all those same rules, even like what you were calling out with the expense category, that's there today.
Mm-hmm.
They're required to put in a lot of the information. They're still required to have receipts too. So we can figure out if that even is the case, or if there's, like I said, a difference between imported expenses versus manual. But yeah, I mean, I think the idea was to leverage what's going on today, just allowing them to make a bulk request from user experience perspective.
So to mix and match, we just have something that takes a collection of those.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, there's definitely UI rules though that kind of go along with some of these. Like right now, like you said, Adam, everything pretty much requires a receipt, but on WEX, imported expenses do not require receipts. So
Right.
then there's a change that has to happen for that. Now, obviously with bulk, I'll say it's a simple change, but for the non-bulk, like the single, expense reimbursement, if you're going to allow them to not have to submit a receipt on bulk, then you have to probably do the same for just a regular reimbursement. So there's probably a two-phase change that would probably have to occur to say, hey, yeah, we're not going to allow receipts. It's optional to submit a receipt for these type of claims.
Right.
So I think that's something we
Yeah,
just got to
you
get
can-
buy-in on
right.
that. And
Yeah, we need to, and I think those are questions that we need to kind of bring back to you in product to say,
right.
well, I mean, because even in the MRD, where they're saying they want a receipt for the bulk request, like one receipt for the bulk request, which makes sense in some cases. But yeah, I mean, if they don't need to be allowed for imported, is that something we want to try to build out, or do we just make it so that a receipt is required on all of them, regardless if it's imported? So, yeah, those are things that we're going to have to kind of walk through and figure out. But okay, well, I know we're at time. I think there's plenty more to discuss, and I mean, I'm trying my best just to capture questions as we move along, and I think Dave's insight with the UI will produce a lot more conversation as well as we move along. So yeah, we'll try to. I think we can. It doesn't feel like we have a lot of open questions. I know we want to bring in those product owners. I'll try to reach out to them on the my UHC side. And a quick question back to Jocelyn. Was there somebody, I had a note that we should look into RallyPay and if there's any efforts where we could leverage APIs being built for RallyPay.
Yeah, I actually talked to Scott on that one.
Oh, okay.
And I have some info. And I think we can maybe do some of it, but I think the big thing I needed to figure out was, there was apparently a privacy issue with sharing Optum data back to Rally. So we need to make sure that it sounded like it was more just displaying all the transactions back to Rally. So we might be okay if we're just looking for a specific one to share that status back and forth, specific claim. But there was a privacy concern, I guess, or some sort of security issue, privacy issue.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I started doing a little bit of work with Scott just to try to get myself more up to speed on what RallyPay was doing, so I could see
Okay, great. That sounds good. Okay, yeah, well, I think, yeah, I mean, just keep the wheels spinning, and then, I mean, you guys really kind of think through it and capture your questions so that when we meet on solutioning, we can walk through them. So Dave, Dave, definitely reach out to us if you have any questions about it. I can even send you those generic mock-ups if you want to look at those ideas.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay. And we can if you need access again, I don't know, I think SoftLabs may have switched on you since you last went in there, so we can get you access to SoftLabs as well if you don't already have it.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, we will plan to meet again tomorrow, if not next week.
All right, thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks guys. We'll talk to you later.
Yep.